Hi, welcome to Everyday Movie Recap. For today's video, we will recap an action thriller film called Captain Phillips from the year 2013. The plot revolves around a U.S. container ship Maersk, Alabama sails toward its destination on a day that seems like any other. Suddenly, Somali pirates race toward the vessel, climb aboard, and take everyone hostage. Have you seen this movie yet? If not, grab your popcorn and relax. At the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to Captain Richard Phillips, who is preparing to leave. His wife Andrea accompanies him to the airport. He makes sure all documents are ready and check their itinerary. They express their fear about the times they are living in, wondering about their children's futures in a world that is drastically different from their own and where it is more difficult to obtain a good job. After that, they reach the airport, give each other a final kiss, and Phillips goes in. In another scene, a small town on Somalia's coast, is the destination of a convoy of vans bringing local mercenaries. A young child tries to wake Abdulwali Muse, who is dozing on the hard ground inside a shack. The fact that the villagers aren't out at sea searching for ships to hijack frustrates the mercenary boss named Garrett. As per the village elder's explanation, they had carried out a successful hijacking the previous week as well as the week before, but the mercenaries were not amused and forced them to board their boats and choose another victim. The village chief is Hufan. Hufan gives Muse and Hassan, another skiff commander, orders to select 3 men each and get their skiffs ready for the journey. To get Muse or Hassan to pick them, the men huddle in close proximity to one another. If they have the necessary skills and can be used as a bribe, they will probably be picked. A plant called khat, when swallowed, produces euphoria and reduces appetite, and this is the bribe. For a sea raid, this is useful. Elmi, Naji, a villager from another area, and a young Somali named Bilal make up Muse's crew. When they reach the mother boat, the Somalis load up goods. A little while later, Assad calls Muse a thin rat and tells him to stay out of his way. Muse is a fierce opponent of Assad and is not pleased when Assad begins ordering his junior Elmi. Arriving at the port of Salalah in Oman, Captain Phillips assumes charge of the cargo ship MV Maersk, Alabama. A man named Shane Murphy, his first mate, gives him an overview of their shipping route and the entire load they are carrying. Because of the pirate activity off the coast of Somalia, Captain Phillips gives Murphy the order to make sure that all of the ship's doors and hatches are closed and kept locked. After the cargo has been loaded, the ship soon sets out on its voyage. At sea, Captain Phillips arranges emergency exercises to make sure the crew is prepared, in case something urgent happens, and the training proves its worth later on. Shortly after the practice starts, Captain Phillips notices 2 tiny dots on the ship's radar screen. Murphy is informed by the captain that 2 skiffs are approaching and is given instructions to get in touch with the U.S. Maritime Emergency. The skiffs follow Captain Phillips' command to make a 5-degree port turn when Ausmay doesn't respond. Murphy is then given the order by Phillips to alert the Ukitoto to possible piracy activity. The female MTO officers instruct Phillips to adhere to the procedures. Now that they've come close enough, the captain can see that the men in the skiffs are armed. Captain Phillips then gives his crew of 20 men a warning and orders them to man their locations and prepare for the worst. When he realizes that the pirates are using their radios, he tries to trick the pirates, and he pretends to be in communication with a military ship by picking up his radio. Assad hears this and gets scared and wants to abandon the mission. Muse, however, instructs his driver to pick up the pace since he does not believe the captain's bluff. Captain Phillips speeds up and improves the ship's maneuverability. The ship's wave rocks the smaller boat, but Muse orders Elmi to push as hard as he can. They become stuck when the boat's engine eventually dies. Muse and the others meet up with their mothership later that evening in order to perform some repairs. When Assad and Muse began insulting one another, things became heated. Assad then aims his gun at his opponent, but Muse is hiding a wrench, which he used to kill Assad. After that, Muse steals Assad's engine and pursues the valuable cargo ship once more. When Murphy notices them, he alerts the captain. Next, Phillips gives the order to make evasive maneuvers, tells the crew to report to their stations, and radios UKMTO to request assistance. A few moments later, the water spray from the fire nozzle starts. The captain ignores Muse's radio request to stop the ship and moves on, which prompts Naji to discharge his weapon and get closer. Bilal connects the makeshift ladder, and each man jumps onto it, scrambling up the side and into the boat, as the fire hose is ineffective as a barrier. Captain Phillips then gives the order for the crew to hide out in the engine compartment and not to open the doors. The pirates pick every lock they come across on their route to the bridge. Upon arriving at the bridge, they charge inside. aiming their firearms in the direction of Phillips and the other two crew members. Muse walks over to Phillips and tells him not to worry, that is, if they cooperate. Finding out that it's an American ship, the pirates are delighted because they fetch good money. At that point, Muse announces that he is now the captain. To the pirates, Phillips' offer of $30,000 for leaving them alone, but this was insufficient despite his negotiations with the pirate leader. He tells them that he is not that cheap and he knows their true value. The head engineer flips the switch, and a few moments later, the ship's power goes out. Muse questions Phillips about the problem, to which he responds that they pushed the ship past its breaking point, which is why there was a power outage. Muse wants to know where the remaining member of the crew is, but Philip, not wanting to endanger the others, says they're all the crew members. Of course, Muse does not believe this, so he threatens to start shooting the people on the bridge one at a time if the rest of the crew does not come out of hiding. Nonetheless, it proves ineffective, so Muse decides to look for the other crews. When looking for the staff, Muse brings Phillips and Bilal along. Phillips suggests that they take their time and investigate from top to bottom. However, Muse notices that he is hiding something and proceeds to take them to the engine room. As Bilal inspects the storage facility, Murphy nearly gets noticed. Following the near collision, Murphy alerts the crew to the approaching attackers and requests that they prepare by spreading out glasses in the engine room. Bilal steps through the door first and steps on the broken glass, seriously hurting his foot as the search group enters the engine room. Muse gives Bilal the command to accompany the captain back to the bridge. In the meantime, Muse keeps looking, and several of the crew ambush him under the cover of darkness. The pirate is fortunately able to deflect the fatal blow with his hand when someone tries to stab him. The crew then uses the radio to notify the pirates on the bridge that they have Muse and will return him in exchange for their captain, plus the $30,000 that they have, and they can go their separate ways. Phillips hands the pirates the money after taking it out of the safe. Muse, meanwhile, has been let go by the team. The lifeboat sinks when Najee strikes the skipper and shuts the door when Phillips tries to get out. Following news of the Maersk, Alabama seizure and Captain Phillips' subsequent abduction as a hostage in the lifeboat, the USS Bainbridge, a U.S. Navy vessel in the Mediterranean, is directed to head west and catch the pirates. Phillips offers to take care of Bilal's foot problems and Muse's hand injuries. Muse consents to Phillips caring for Bilal, but he rejects medical treatment. The captain then casually takes out a knife and cuts the bandage, triggering Elmi to sound an alarm. Najee tells Bilal to get away from him as she takes the knife away from Phillips. Soon after, a drone finds the Alabama crew and its captain. The Navy quickly calculated that it would take the U.S. battleship at least 36 hours to make it to their location. But even if they are late, the pirates would not make it to land yet, so they still send their SEAL team. After a while, Hufan gets in touch with Muse and lets him know that the mothership's engines are having issues. Additionally, he informs Muse that they should leave for Somalia right away because Garad is upset that Muse mishandled the operation. When the USS Bainbridge approaches, it lets out a cry through its horn and shines its spotlights to warn the sailors on the lifeboat. Then, a man by the name of Nemo, who can speak Somalian, gets in touch with the pirates and offers them water and food to start talks. Muse, however, tells Nemo that the demand money is $10 million. Najee is suspicious of everything the Americans say because he thinks they are attempting to manipulate them. Muse nevertheless consents to have a meeting with the Navy. The lifeboat is then confronted by two gunboats that want to see the skipper. To make sure Phillips is all right, Muse points him in the direction of the lifeboat's door. Muse talks to Nemo as he shoves Phillips back into the lifeboat. He is offered food and beverages, but he turns them down. He will not take anything from them except the $10 million ransom. Najee gets more and more irritated during the talk and pulls a revolver. The gunboats were instructed to retreat right away, fearing that Phillips might have been shot. Muse gets in touch with Bainbridge and lets them know that Phillips is okay. He then gets Phillips to confirm this over the phone. Muse promises the officer that he will get in touch with them when they get to Somalia. Two additional vessels join the USS Bainbridge after dusk. After that, Philip requests to take a toilet break. The captain seizes this chance and shoves Bilal into the ocean and swims in the direction of the ships to escape. The Navy sees this, but is confused about their identities and holds on shooting anyone. Muse also tries to shoot, but Muse stops him, and he then makes a mid-air leap and swims out to retrieve Phillips, pulling him back toward the lifeboat. Najee beats up the captain when they catch him. Afterwards, the SEALs show up and radio Muse. Following that, the negotiator begins to mention the names and nationalities of the pirates. He also convinces them that leaders from their tribe are being taken to Bainbridge to assist them in setting up the ransom for Captain Phillips. Muse consents to show the elders and the Navy around the battleship. Meanwhile, the SEALs take up position with their sniper weapons, preparing to attack. To retrieve Muse and attach a tow rope, a skiff is sent to the lifeboat. Additionally, they discreetly attach listening equipment on the lifeboat's outside. After throwing a bag, the sailor advises Phillips to remain where he is. The SEAL sniper's task upon returning to the cruiser is to locate and eliminate any confirmed sightings of all 3 criminals on the raft. At the moment the Bainbridge begins tugging the lifeboat, Phillips does as directed and puts on his yellow shirt. Elmi becomes upset when Phillips moves, so Najee shouts at him to stay still. Elmi is told by Najee to shoot Phillips if he even moves a muscle. As the raft draws nearer, the snipers keep looking but are unable to confirm verifiable sightings of all 3 pirates. Fearing for his life, Phillips reaches for a pen and paper to write his loved ones' final wishes. When Najee notices this, she seizes the supplies. Phillips loses his cool and starts punching and shoving Najee. Bilal and Elmi assist them in overpowering the captain and tying him up. Najee asks where the elders are and switches on the radio. He comes to the conclusion that the Americans were deceiving them the entire time and that their elders were not coming. Najee gets ready to put Phillips to death since he thinks they will all end up dead. Tensions are high by then, and Najee is determined to at least take out the captain along with him. The SEAL snipers confirm 2 pirates but are still unable to spot the 3rd pirate. After that, the commander gives the order to stop the tow. Najee stumbles forward and appears through a window as a result of that. This provides the snipers the location of all 3 pirates, and they get orders for execution. Blood spurts all over Phillips. After that, all is quiet while Phillips screams and his blindfold comes off to see the horrifying scene. Orders to take out Muse are given, and he is immediately taken into custody. Upon learning that Captain Phillips is unharmed and that his crew has perished, Muse gives up and quietly surrenders. The SEAL team successfully rescued Captain Phillips, who was brought inside their ship for medical treatment. However, the trauma still lingers, and he struggles to even talk with his family. The chief of the soldiers assures him that he will get home safely soon. The movie ends as Muse, having been found guilty of the crime he committed, has been sentenced to many years in prison. On the other hand, Captain Phillips recovered and is still continuing his work at sea. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this movie. See you in our next movie.